sneak agents of the Scarlet Chorus behind the city walls. Scarlet Chorus were better operatives than soldiers, and this work required a subtle touch. No. I'm thinking we go with this one. You enlisted a bitter captain of the guard to sell military secrets to the disfavored. Better that Kairos' forces march to their next inevitable victory well informed. Because as good as this sounds, at the moment Tiberius has a very low opinion of the Scarlet Chorus. As to him, they're just a mass of undisciplined peasant rabble. And he doesn't trust them. Once we get them into place, they won't just go crazy and start slaughtering people. Whereas the disfavored seem to be more disciplined. That, and having a captain of the guard on our side would be more helpful, because he would know the defenses and be able to help us minimize our casualties during an attack, as opposed to a smuggler who might be able to sneak us in, but he doesn't know the defenses of the city. And I think the city's defenses are far more important to prioritize than being able to sneak around some. As much as Tiberius does like sneaking around, he is a pragmatic man, and this strikes me as the more pragmatic way to do things. The captain of the guard was of a mind that the bastard city was corrupt and deserving of better leadership. You did nothing to convince him otherwise. Of course we didn't. We want him to think that, after all. After taking your promises of stature and security to heart, he offered you a list of valuable assets, from weakened stones in the rampart to the state of siege provisions, capping it off with a list of city officials whose loyalties could likewise be turned to support your cause. And I really like that, because I think this information is far more valuable than anything we could have got from the smuggler, because siege provisions, weakened stones, list of other people we could turn to our side, that's going to be far more helpful than whatever that smuggler could get by bringing some Scarlet Chorus near to the city. Betrayal of the bastard city. Your tactics of infiltration place you in the bastard city ahead of the main armies. Your work softened the city defenses for the arrival of Kairos' forces, but you wanted a decisive gesture that would give your allies a meaningful advantage. How did you assist in the fall of the bastard city? And we have three options. Duel the city marshal. You challenge the commander of the bastard city's defenses to an honorable fight to the death. The disfavored wish to spare soldier lives for the battles ahead and civilian lives for the occupation, which gives us an ability that makes us take less damage, I think. Inside a riot, spreading the word of Kairos, you converted the poor and disaffected into a hidden army of the Scarlet Chorus. Once the dust settled, the army wished to bolster their troops with these sleeper cells. Searing Palm. Gather heated energy into your hands and release it onto a foe. The target ignites in flames, burning over time. Spread fear through assassination. Keeping to the shadows, you eliminated the leaders of the bastard city one by one. Concealing shadows. Create a cloud of obscuring shadows and dust. For a short time, enemies that use physical attacks will have an increased chance to miss. Our attacks will also be less effective. Yeah, I think this is what Tiberius is going to do. As I said, we're more pragmatic than anything. And in his mind, the best way to orchestrate the fall of the bastard city that much quicker is to cut off the head of the snake, for lack of a better phrase. take out their leadership, and they'll be all that much more inspired to surrender now that they're basically leaderless. So we shall eliminate their leaders via assassination. Some deaths were quiet and unnoticed, while others were gruesome beyond words. As a wave of murder overtook the city's elite, your deeds swelled in infamy. Well before the armies arrived, no one in the bastard city felt safe in their homes, much less behind their walls. At the time Kairos' forces crested the horizon, the city was fearful enough to throw open the gates and welcome their new protectors. Yeah, might seem like a bit of a dick move compared to the kind of characters we play, but hey, I did warn you we weren't going to play a good guy. We are being pragmatic in our approach towards things, not goody two-shoes. And the bastard city falls. The bastard city settled into a new state of normalcy, with every tower displaying Kairos' banner. Your name was whispered alongside rumors of a decorated career to come. The armies divided into two fronts and migrated south. Tunon sent word that you were to join the next frontier of Kairos' conquest, either as judge and overseer of the settlement of Lethian's Crossing, or as a war advisor with the armies advancing into the realm of Apex. Built in the shadows of an old wall's junction in the realm of Haven, Lethian's Crossing is a growing trading settlement. The nearby rivers are rich in iron ore, though the locals lack technology to smelt and forge the element. In the years following Kairos' conquest of the Tiers, the population swelled with refugees fleeing the destruction of their homelands. The presence of the forge-bound mining the iron, along with their guards, makes this makeshift settlement a vital resource for Kairos' armies. Or there is Apex. The Central Valley. But I think we're actually going to go for Lethian's Crossing. It has iron there, is the thinking. And iron is a valuable resource for the outfitting of any army. And Tiberius' thinking is that we don't know how long this conquest is going to last, and if we take Lethian's Crossing, then we can both deprive them of iron and gain it for ourselves. So you not only take resources from the enemy, but you gain them for yourselves, which is doubly advantageous for us. And that, as a result, we're going to Lethian's Crossing. Year 2 of the conquest. Years ago, Lethian the Bold founded a small merchant town at the intersection of ancient old walls. A pact between the settlers and a mercenary company meant that caravans were able to travel without fear of bandits or bane, and the town thrived in modest insignificance. Lethian's Crossing drew Kairos' attention for the iron deposits in the surrounding hills. With the region under Kairos' control, the northern smith mages could set up workshops to refine ore and arm the disfavored with the finest weapons in the known world. The Archon of Secrets dismantled the mercenary support with a generous bribe, taking the crossing in a bloodless victory. Tunon dispatched you to travel alongside Kairos' forces and bring order to the region. So, this is a nice change of pace. We went from basically helping to conquer a region to basically pacifying them, and I'll be interested to see how it's different. Let's see. The iron must flow. Kairos' smith mages worked day and night to create weapons. No one faulted their dedication, yet production was low. The plans came to light. The plans that came to light, apparently I can't talk right now, sorry, proved divisive to the disfavored and Scarlet Chorus. On one hand, any additional manpower was needed for fighters, not forges. On the other hand, the celebrated weaponry of Kairos' armies needed to be fiercely guarded. Conscript a tribe of beastmen. Let's see. The Scarlet Chorus took refugees from the recent influx and forced them to serve in Kairos' military. You repurposed these individuals to haul wagons of iron for the smith mages. This proved an inconvenience to the Scarlet Chorus, who relied on their force of numbers to be effective in the field. I think that's a good approach. Quality over quantity, after all. The Scarlet Chorus to Tiberius, they don't seem to be doing anything useful, just throwing numbers at a problem, which to him is a very stupid way of doing things. Better to send in a small elite band of fighters than a massive horde that loses half their numbers in their victory. So, we are going to side with the disfavored. The population of Lethian's Crossing had swelled from the emptying of lands destroyed by Kairos' armies. Although the Scarlet Chorus fought to keep the refugees under their control, the need for production could not wait. The new recruits were reassigned to haul iron ore from treacherous mine shafts, labor more befitting slaves than Kairos' artisans. Though the disfavored grew stronger with the advantage of more weapons, the Scarlet Chorus diminished as their ranks found themselves with one less opportunity for growth. Yeah, well, too bad for them. Let's see. Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus soldiers rubbed elbows with mercenaries. Tensions rose. Pick of the armory. Both armies wanted preferential treatment. Guardians do. They can deal with the mercenaries. Not a real big deal, I don't think. Let's see. Pick of the armory. Since you aided the production of weapons, commanders of both armies lobbied for additional arms. They offered all manner of bribes to be next in line for a fitting session with the masters of the forge. How did you sate the lust for iron? So we could choose the disfavored. You let the disfavored have the iron, keeping the best tools in the hands of the elite. The Scarlet Chorus saw the slightest and obvious display of preferential treatment. Choose the Scarlet Chorus. You gave iron arms to the Scarlet Chorus commanders, knowing they pay very well for any killing tool. Weaponry of such a claim was typically reserved for the highest disfavored officers, but you were open to changing tradition under the circumstances. Remain neutral. You allowed no changes to the orderly dispensation of iron and punished those who tried to bribe you twice. I think we're going to give it to the disfavored. I mean, lest you forget, Tiberius was a noble before he became a fatebinder. And as such, is very accustomed to the idea that the elite should have the best tools. So, while he is pragmatic, he does kind of let his background color his choices sometimes, and this is one of those times. The disfavored are obviously the elite of Kairos' forces, and they deserve the best tools. The Scarlet Chorus are little more than a horde of unwashed savages, as far as we're concerned. So, no iron for them. Passing out iron to even the hardiest Scarlet Chorus gang boss would have been a waste of resources. Most of them couldn't wield arms more complicated than a pitchfork. I do love the way they put that, and Tiberius would definitely agree. And their chances of surviving a fortnight were suspect. The disfavored, by contrast, knew how to use and respect a capable weapon to its greatest potential. Perhaps more importantly, the disfavored remember their friends when a time of need arises, and their royal loyalty runs as deep as any vein of iron ore. Yeah, whereas the Scarlet Chorus, if I remember correctly, are always betraying each other over looking at someone funny. Who controlled the crossing? Tragedy struck when a mercenary hired by the Voices of Nerat injured a forge-bound artisan, leaving him unable to practice his craft. Tunon ordered the mercenaries to leave the city in the hands of Kairos' more responsible servants. Only a token garrison could be left behind while the armies returned to the front. As the disfavored and Scarlet Chorus showed increasing tension and hostility toward each other, Tunon decreed it best that only one force control the crossing. And we have a bit of lore to look at now. The Voices of Nerat, known in his official capacity as the Archon of Secrets, the Voices of Nerat is equal parts genius and madman. Rumors abound that he can steal the minds of others, though few, if any, are alive to confirm as much. The subjects of his interrogation are never heard from again, and the Archon is able to recall the memories of his victims with startling accuracy. He is the inconsistent leader of the Scarlet Chorus, vacillating between commanding from the vanguard and directing his armies in absentia. Despite his strange methods, no one doubts that the Voices of Nerat is an accomplished strategist, even suggesting that his madness stems from thinking hundreds, perhaps thousands of steps ahead of his enemies. Well, I might not be a fan of the Scarlet Chorus so far, but I can't deny they are a very interesting faction, and none so more than the guy who's in charge of them. I look forward to seeing where this goes. The Forge-bound are basically magical smiths. I'm not going to read this, but I will leave it up for now. There. If you need it for longer than that, you can just pause the video while you read. Tunon. That's the Archon of Justice, who's in charge of the laws. Now, who controlled the crossing? I'm giving it to the disfavored because, as I said before, Tiberius is not trusting the Scarlet Chorus and thinks that they are little more than the savages we came here to conquer. So nope, the crossing goes to the disfavored. The disfavored placed a modest garrison in the settlement of Lethian's Crossing. Though the force was larger than might be needed to police a small settlement, protecting the forge-bound ironsmiths became the true agenda of the defense force, as these magical craftsmen kept the disfavored invasion force suited in iron. Relieved at the departure of the Scarlet Chorus, the citizens of Lethian's Crossing felt they got the least of two burdens. You received word from Graven Ash thanking you for your decision. The Forge-bound and their weaponry could not be entrusted to the Voices of Nerat. Okay, and Graven Ash is the leader of the disfavored, so we will read this little bit of lore about him. The last of the great northern generals to stand against the Overlord in ages past, Archon Graven Ash now serves Kairos as supreme commander of the disfavored legion, and is charged with conquering the tiers. Graven Ash shares a powerful bond with the soldiers under his command, and regards each of them as family. The death of a soldier at enemy hands represents a grievous loss to the old general, who bears the burden of his love with mournful stoicism. Huh. Yeah, even in this intro part, which is still character creation, if you can believe it, I am finding this game to be great and one of the most interesting things I have played in a long time. But it's time to move on, I guess. Now that we have Lethian's Crossing properly subdued. And we now have three choices. With the mercenaries expelled and Lethian's Crossing under new leadership, Kairos' forces congratulated themselves on bringing order to the settlement and guaranteeing a productive flow of resources. Sorry about that, I had to pause for a second, and I may have to be a little quieter now. We'll see, I may just bump up the volume in future. As I was saying, over the course of this diversion, the army front advanced further into the tiers. Your skills were needed in the realm of Azure, Stalwart, or the Vellum Citadel. Well, from what I can tell here, Azure appears to be a farmland nation of sorts. So the way I see it here is that, from Tiberius' perspective, to use an old phrase, an army marches on its stomach. And we need to ensure this army continues to march. So this region should help us supply them with resources. So I'm going to go there. The nation of Azure, once the richest settlement of the tiers, sat on a verdant, fertile plain. Oh, I was right. Great. As the disfavored clashed with Azure's defenders, Scarlet Chorus contended against the region's tribal beastmen, who protected their ancestral lands with incredible fury. Hyros dispatched the Archon Cairn to break the stalemate and force Azure into submission. The colossal man of stone and flesh arrived as instructed, but earning his cooperation was a tall order even for you. Stalked by shadows. Letting people who murdered members of our army join our army? I don't think so. The destruction of Azure. Cairn, the Archon of Stone, carved a deadly path through Azure, using his powers to blight the land. The Scarlet Horus complained that his tactics left no farmland to feed the growing army, and Cairn marched with the disfavored The Scarlet Chorus held the Legion responsible for the destruction and lost harvests. Or stalked by shadows. After a roaming pack of beastmen slaughtered a disfavored patrol, a Scarlet Chorus responded by laying claim to the beasts for their army, while the disfavored readied a company to enact vengeance. The disfavored legion considered the beasts beyond taming, and the butchers of their northern brethren needed to be brought to justice. I agree. These beasts killed people in our army. We are not letting them join our army. The disfavored may enact proper vengeance. The Scarlet Chorus were wrong to claim enemies of Kairos for themselves before the disfavored had their opportunity for vengeance. You tainted the beast's watering hole, then led a disfavored sweep through their den, slaughtering the wild but weakened pack in a savage mass execution. The Scarlet Chorus raised protests that the disfavored were sabotaging their ability to conduct war. You argued that it was for the betterment of the conquest. Yeah, kind of a dark, brutal approach to take, but I never pretended we were a good guy. Let's see, in Cairn's tribe, a wounded Scarlet Chorus soldier claimed her gang was mauled by beastmen loyal to the Archon of Stone, but Cairn could not be found. The Scarlet Chorus thought to capture the tribe. The disfavored insisted the account was slander. The Archon was loyal to Kairos and would never lend his strength to savages. And I'm going to go with this one. And we will side with the disfavored. You allowed the disfavored to deal with their own. The beastmen were destroyed, and the search for Cairn redoubled. After all, Tiberius has no reason to believe that this Scarlet Chorus soldier is telling the truth. Why would the Archon of Stone join with the beastmen and attack Kairos' army? It's completely illogical and obviously lies. Since Cairn had left the army's camp, there was no telling if the beastmen were loyal to him or not. Either way, the enemies of Kairos needed to be dispatched. The disfavored swept across the plains and slaughtered members of the offending tribe. The voices of Narat disputed the ruling, claiming that the disfavored were silencing the truth, and only Cain could testify his guilt. The Archon of Stone made brazen declarations that Kairos had no claim to rule the Tiers. Soon after, word arrived that Kairos would dispatch this rebellious minion with an edict. The disfavored took solace in knowing the edict was coming, and the commander's petition to be the bearer of justice. Tunon selected you for the honor of proclaiming Kairos' Edict of Stone, a magical spell with the power to destroy the Archon. As he sensed his approaching doom, Cairn began an assault on Plainsgate, the largest human settlement of the area. It fell to you to send Kairos' forces into a suicide mission to halt Cairn's destruction while you completed the proclamation of the Edict. And we have a few choices here. Send the disfavored to march against the Archon, to delay him, send the Scarlet Chorus to delay him, or send them both. I'm thinking we either, much as Tiberius loathes the Scarlet Chorus for some of their actions in the past, really loathes them, because they go against his favored approach, which is pragmatism and doing what is necessary to accomplish a goal. They seem to just be about murder for the sake of murder and slaughter for slaughter's sake. He hates them, but in this case, he's going to have to bite his tongue and get their help. Because we're talking about an Archon, one of the most powerful beings in the Overlord's empire. The disfavored or the Scarlet Chorus alone, Tiberius does not believe would have a snowball's chance in hell of being victorious against Cairn. Our only choice. The only way we'll have even a fraction of a chance to succeed in slowing him down enough to read the Edict is if we send the full force of Kairos' armies against him. So both the Scarlet Chorus and the disfavored will march against Cairn. The disfavored and Scarlet Chorus alike questioned the wisdom of this command. You were uncompromising. This approach was the only guarantee to halt the Archon's destruction. The disfavored phalanx shattered under Cairn's fury. The Scarlet Chorus mob was reduced to a smear under his foot. The city of Plainsgate suffered little damage at all as the armies kept Cairn occupied. Small beacon of hope amongst the devastation. As you read the Edict of Stone, the earth under the battlefield groaned open, spitting up outcroppings of rock that obliterated the surrounding landscape for miles. When the land had heaved open to take Cain, the Archon allowed it with serene acceptance. So yeah, looking at the outcome, I think Tiberius would conclude that he made the right choice. The losses were unfortunate, but they were acceptable casualties in the grand scheme. The Archon was stopped, and we prevented major devastation of the area we came to conquer. The Edict of Stone. With the lands blighted and unrecognizable, the realm of Azure was left utterly ruined by the events of the war. In times to come, the Tears would call this blasted region the Stone Sea, but the treacherous rock formations and persistent quakes became the defining features of this once verdant land. Scarlet Chorus established a sprawling camp in the shattered rocky terrain and quickly absorbed those displaced by the upheaval of the land. These hapless refugees were put to work as slaves and soldiers, and the Chorus slowly built themselves a makeshift fortress in the blighted, quake-ridden realm. Your tour of duty in the broken lands of Azure was complete. You didn't have long to rest before Tunon called you into service once more. Conquest is complete. And I will be continuing on with these choices.
The year is 431, and Kairos' invasion has shattered all major opposition in the tiers. The Younger Realms, the Bastard Tier, the Free Cities. All who defied Kairos lay broken by battle, or bowed in surrender. The two armies of the Overlord, the Disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus, now control our lands.
Yes, little slaves, bow to the Overlord.
But our will is not yet extinguished. Not entirely. In the Valley of Vendrian's Well, those of us unwilling to bow to Kairos have banded together in defiance. Violating an oath of surrender from 2 years prior, we have staged a bloody uprising, murdering the Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus garrison in a midnight assault.
Oh, god damn it. These stupid bastards have decided to defy the Overlord. I think I know what's coming here.
With their main forces spread across the tiers, the Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus redeploy to Vendrian's Well to crush the resistance. But months pass with no definitive battle. As disagreement and discord paralyze the Archons, we bide our time and wait for our message of insurrection to spread across the tiers. The Overlord is not amused, and Kairos has one message for the Archons: crush the Oathbreakers or die. Kairos backs this threat with an edict, a magical commandment that can slay all in the valley should the order be ignored. The honor of proclaiming this edict fell to you. Sent across the mountains to Vendrian's Well, you carry the Overlord's edict to read before the Archons. As you finally make your way through the winding mountain passes into the valley, the ground trembles, and Kairos' magic seals the way behind you. You are trapped in Vendrian's Well, with Kairos' armies and the Oathbreakers. The only way to survive is to fulfill the terms of the Overlord's edict, in any way that you can.
So, to those of you who didn't get that, basically, the Scarlet Chorus and the Disfavored cannot stop arguing, and now we've been sent in to basically give them the Overlord's ultimatum, which is essentially get this done or everyone in that valley dies. And I'm going to X out of that because I have been recording this for a very long time now, and it's getting to be pretty late. so I'm having to talk relatively quietly because my dad is just next door and he is trying to sleep, but I'm gonna call an end to the session here, I think. So, thank you for watching my Let's Play Tyranny. I hope you've enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye.